At my brother's wedding, a staff member stopped me at the door. "Your name isn't on the list." I saw my parents smirking behind him. I walked away. Next morning, they showed up at my house in full panic, and the reason shocked me. "Sir, your name isn't on the guest list." The staff member at the Riverside Estate and Gardens blocked my path with an apologetic smile that didn't reach his eyes. He was holding an iPad, stylus hovering over a long list of names. Behind him, through the ornate wrought iron gates, I could see the wedding venue in full swing. White tents, string lights, people in formal wear, holding champagne glasses and laughing. "There must be a mistake," I said calmly, even though my stomach was already starting to sink. "I'm Owen Garrett, the groom's brother." He tapped his screen, scrolled, tapped again. "I'm sorry, sir. I'm not seeing your name. Are you sure you were invited?" That's when I looked past him and saw them. My parents, Robert and Linda Garrett, standing maybe 20 feet away near the entrance to the main tent, champagne glasses raised in a toast, watching me. My father, 62, gray hair perfectly styled, wearing a tuxedo that probably cost more than my monthly rent, was smirking. Actually smirking. And my mother, 58, auburn hair in an elaborate updo, wearing a champagne-colored gown, she laughed, turned to say something to the woman next to her, and laughed. They were watching me get turned away from my own brother's wedding, and they thought it was funny. "Let me check again," the staff member said, clearly uncomfortable now. "How do you spell your last name?" "Garrett. Owen Garrett." More tapping, more scrolling. His face was getting redder. "I'm very sorry, Mr. Garrett, but I only have approved guests on this list. If you'd like, I can call the wedding planner." "Don't bother." My brother appeared, Marcus, 29 years old, 3 years younger than me, walking down the pathway from the tent in his custom tuxedo, straightening his bow tie. He'd always been the golden child, the charmer, the one who could talk his way into or out of anything. "Hey man," he said casually, like we'd just run into each other at a coffee shop. "This is family only. You understand?" I stared at him. "I am family." "Not really." He shrugged, actually shrugged, like this was nothing. "Mom and Dad think it's better this way. After all the drama you caused. You know how it is." Drama I caused. That's what they called it when I'd refused to lie for my father's business 18 months ago. When I wouldn't sign fraudulent tax documents that underreported income by $400,000. It had been a Thursday afternoon, February 2023. I'd been working as a CPA at a mid-sized firm in Portland, making decent money, living a quiet life. My father had called me into his office. He ran Garrett Consulting Group, a business advisory firm with 7 employees and annual revenue around $2 million. "I need you to look at something," he'd said, sliding a folder across his desk. Tax returns for the business, but the numbers were wrong. I'd seen the quarterly reports. I knew what the actual revenue was. These returns underreported by nearly 40%. "Dad, these numbers don't match the books." "I know." He'd leaned back in his leather chair, completely casual. "The real books are for our records. These are for the IRS. That's tax fraud. That's smart business," he'd corrected. "Everyone does it. You think Jeff Bezos pays full taxes? Come on, Owen, don't be naive. I'm not signing these." His face had changed then, gone from friendly to cold in seconds. "Yes, you are. You're the company CPA of record. Your signature is required." "Then take me off as CPA of record. I'm not committing a felony." "You're being dramatic. This is how business works. This is how we keep the lights on, how we pay for the house, how we maintain our lifestyle." "Your lifestyle too? Or did you forget that I paid for your college? That doesn't give you the right to ask me to break the law." We'd argued for 2 hours. He'd tried reason, then guilt, then threats. When I still refused, he'd called my mother. She'd arrived within 20 minutes, perfectly coiffed and ready to mediate. "Owen, sweetheart, your father needs your help. Family helps family, not with tax fraud." "Don't call it that," she'd snapped. "You're making this into something it's not. Your father has built this business from nothing. He's provided for this family. The least you can do is show some loyalty." Loyalty doesn't mean committing crimes. That's when they'd turned on me fully. Called me ungrateful, disloyal. Said I thought I was better than them just because I had a degree. Said I'd always been judgmental, always been difficult, always been the problem child who couldn't just go along with things. I'd walked out of that office at 4:47 p.m., got in my car, drove home, and spent the next 2 days deciding what to do. In the end, my grandmother's voice had echoed in my head. Do what's right, even when it costs you. I'd filed a report with the IRS on Monday morning, anonymous at first, but when they'd opened an investigation and needed testimony, I'd come forward, given them everything. Bank statements, the 2 sets of books, emails discussing the fraud. The audit had been brutal, taken 8 months, resulted in $280,000 in back taxes and penalties, almost destroyed my father's business, and made me the family pariah. "After all the drama you caused," Marcus had said. "Fine," I said, keeping my voice level. "Congratulations on your wedding, Marcus." I turned and walked away. Didn't yell, didn't make a scene, didn't give them the satisfaction. Behind me, I heard my mother's voice, carrying on the evening breeze. See, he's always so dramatic. Can't handle not being the center of attention for one day. I kept walking through the parking lot to my 10-year-old Subaru parked between a Mercedes and a BMW. Got in, started the engine, drove home. I didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't punch the steering wheel. I just drove. And somewhere around mile marker 23 on the highway, I realized I wasn't surprised. I wasn't even hurt anymore. I was just tired. Tired of being the problem. Tired of being the one who caused drama by refusing to participate in fraud. Tired of being painted as the villain for having a conscience. I got home to my apartment in Northeast Portland at 8:47 p.m. Small one-bedroom. Nothing fancy. I'd moved here after the IRS thing, after my parents made it clear I wasn't welcome at family gatherings until I apologized for betraying them. I poured myself 2 fingers of whiskey, sat on my couch, stared at nothing. My phone buzzed. A text from my cousin Rachel. Heard what happened. I'm so sorry. Your family is insane. I didn't respond. Another buzz. My Aunt Susan. Can't believe they didn't invite you. That's cruel, even for them. I turned off my phone. The thing is, I'd known something like this was coming. Had known for months. My family operated on a simple principle. Loyalty above everything. Truth was irrelevant. Morality was negotiable. What mattered was protecting the family name, the family business, the family image, and I'd violated that principle by refusing to commit a felony. So this, being excluded from my brother's wedding, being publicly humiliated, being erased from family events, this was my punishment. I sat in the dark for a long time, drinking whiskey, thinking about my grandmother. Dorothy Garrett had died 2 years ago at 86. Cancer. She'd been the only person in my family who'd ever told me the truth about anything. The only one who'd said, Robert is making bad decisions instead of, your father is a brilliant businessman. The only one who'd acknowledged that the Garrett family had problems instead of pretending everything was perfect. Before she died, she'd pulled me aside in her hospital room 2 days before the end, when she was so weak she could barely hold my hand, and said, Owen, you're the only one who'll do what's right, even when it's hard. Promise me you'll keep doing that, even when it costs you. I'd promised. I just hadn't known how much it would cost. I fell asleep on the couch around midnight, still in my dress shirt and slacks, the outfit I'd worn to a wedding I wasn't allowed to attend. At 7:04 a.m., someone started pounding on my door. Not knocking, pounding, like the police with a warrant. I jerked awake, disoriented, my neck aching from the angle I'd been sleeping at. The pounding continued. Owen, open the door! My father's voice. I sat up, looked at the door, looked at my phone. 17 missed calls, 33 text messages, all from family members. The pounding intensified. I walked to the door and opened it. My parents stood there, still in yesterday's formal clothes. My father's tuxedo looked slept in. His tie was loose, hanging around his neck like a noose. His hair, usually perfectly styled, was disheveled. My mother's makeup was smudged. Mascara tracked down her cheeks. Her champagne-colored gown wrinkled. They looked like they'd been up all night. We need to talk, my father said, pushing past me into my apartment without waiting for an invitation. Good morning to you, too. My mother grabbed my arm, her perfectly manicured nails digging into my skin. Please, Owen, something happened. We need your help. Help with what? My father was already pacing my living room, his shoes, expensive Italian leather, leaving marks on my cheap carpet. The wedding, the venue, everything went wrong. I'm sorry to hear that, I said, not sorry at all. The venue charged us double, he continued, his voice rising. Said there was a miscommunication about the guest count. The final bill was $87,000 instead of $45,000. The caterer is threatening to sue because someone, Marcus probably, promised them a tip that never materialized. The photographer already filed a complaint with the Better Business Bureau and is demanding payment up front for the edited photos. The florist, the DJ, everyone is coming at us. My mother's hands were shaking. We're looking at over $200,000 in bills we can't cover. Some of the vendors are threatening to go to collections, to ruin our credit. Robert's business accounts are maxed out from recent issues. By recent issues, she meant the IRS audit I'd triggered. The fines, the back taxes. That sounds difficult, I said flatly. What does this have to do with me? My father stopped pacing and turned to face me. We need you to sign the release forms. What release forms? For the trust fund, my mother said desperately. Your grandmother's trust, the one she left for family emergencies. We need access, but you're listed as the executor. You have to sign off on withdrawals. I went very still. What trust fund? I asked, even though I knew exactly what trust fund. My father's jaw clenched. Don't play stupid, Owen. Your grandmother's estate trust, the emergency fund. She left $340,000 in a trust account for family emergencies. We need it. Now. Executor? I walked to my kitchen, poured myself coffee, took my time. Grandma made me executor? Yes, he snapped. Some ridiculous decision she made in her final weeks. Said you were the responsible one, the trustworthy one, like she thought the rest of us us couldn't be trusted with money. The irony was so thick, I almost laughed. But we need that money now, my mother said, following me into the kitchen. The vendors are threatening legal action. Your brother's credit cards are maxed out from the honeymoon he already booked. We have nothing liquid. Everything is tied up in the business. In investments we can't liquidate without massive penalties. I sipped my coffee. How much do you need? All of it, my father said. $340,000. Maybe more if we can access the growth on the principal. For wedding bills. For emergency expenses, my mother corrected. That's what the trust is for. Emergencies. I set down my coffee cup carefully, walked to my desk in the corner of my living room, pulled out a folder, a thick folder, opened it slowly. Funny you mention that trust, I said, because I've been reviewing it very carefully for quite some time now. My father's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? Grandma was very specific about what the trust could be used for. I pulled out the trust documents, 47 pages of legal language that I'd read so many times I had sections memorized. Medical emergencies, educational expenses for family members pursuing degrees, business startup costs for family members in good standing with no criminal record. I looked up. Wedding bills aren't covered. My mother's face went pale. That's not. There must be a provision for unexpected expenses. There is. Section 7, paragraph 3. Unexpected expenses are defined as unforeseen medical treatments, emergency home repairs due to natural disasters, emergency legal representation for family members facing criminal charges through no fault of their own. I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. Wedding cost overruns aren't mentioned. My father stepped closer. You're really going to do this? Over being left off a guest list? You're that petty? No, Dad. I'm going to do this because you've been stealing from that trust for 2 years. The room went absolutely silent. The only sound was the coffee maker still dripping in the kitchen, and somewhere outside, a car alarm going off. My mother's voice came out as a whisper. What? I pulled out bank statements, printed on standard copy paper but devastating in their clarity. Transaction after transaction highlighted in yellow. I've been tracking it since June 2023. That's when I noticed the first discrepancy. A $7,500 withdrawal labeled medical emergency. Robert Garrett hospitalization. But Dad, you weren't hospitalized. I called you that week. You were fine, playing golf with your buddies, posting photos on Facebook from the country club. I spread the statements across my coffee table like a poker player revealing a royal flush. So I started looking closer, requesting detailed statements, cross-referencing dates. February 2023, $7,500 withdrawal labeled medical expenses. Except none of you were sick. I checked with your insurance company. I'm listed as the trust beneficiary, so I have access. No major claims that month. March 2023, $9,000 labeled educational expenses. Neither you nor Marcus were in school. I verified with every local university. No enrollment records. I pulled out more documents, a thick stack meticulously organized with tabs and annotations. April 2023, $6,200 labeled emergency home repair. I drove by your house. Your roof looked fine. I even called 2 roofing companies claiming I was considering work. Neither had any record of servicing your address. May 2023, $8,100 for medical equipment for Linda Garrett. Mom, you're not disabled. You don't need medical equipment. June 2023, $5,900 for emergency legal fees. I checked with the county courthouse. No lawsuits involving either of you. No legal proceedings requiring emergency representation. My mother had gone white. She gripped the arm of the couch like it was the only thing keeping her upright. July 2023, $9,500. August, $7,800. September, $6,400. Every single month for 23 months, sometimes twice a month. Each withdrawal carefully crafted to look legitimate. Each authorization form with my signature, except I never signed them. I picked up one of the forms and held it next to a document I'd actually signed. My driver's license renewal form. See the difference? My signature slants left because I'm left-handed. These forged signatures, they slant right. The pen pressure is wrong too. I use light pressure on downstrokes and heavy on upstrokes. These are reversed. A forensic handwriting expert would spot this in 30 seconds. My father tried to speak, but no words came out. It goes on and on. A total of $127,000 withdrawn from the trust under false pretenses over 23 months. And I know exactly where the money went because I hired someone to trace it. My father's face had gone from red to white. You can't prove. I already did. I pulled out another document. I hired Wallace & Partners, forensic accountants, 3 months ago. Specifically, I worked with Dr. Rebecca Wallace, CPA, CFE, that's certified fraud examiner. She's been practicing for 19 years, testified as an expert witness in 47 cases. She traced every transaction, every forged signature, every false authorization form. I handed the report to my mother. She stared at it but didn't take it. It fell to the floor. Every withdrawal documented, every discrepancy noted, including the fact that the money was used for luxury expenses, remodeling the kitchen, buying a boat, Marcus's car payment, Mom's cosmetic procedures. My mother gasped. How did you? Credit card statements. You used the trust money to pay off credit cards, but the credit card statements show what the debt was for. I pulled out more documents. The forensic accountant subpoenaed financial records with proper court authorization. It's all legal, all documented, all provable. My brother Marcus appeared in my doorway, still wearing his tuxedo pants and a wrinkled dress shirt. His eyes were bloodshot. He smelled like alcohol. What's going on? He slurred. Your parents have been stealing from Grandma's trust, I said flatly, and they just asked me to give them access to the rest of it. That's not— We didn't steal, my mother started. You forged my signature on 23 separate authorization forms, I interrupted. That's forgery. You withdrew funds under false pretenses. That's fraud. You used money from a trust established by a deceased person for unauthorized purposes. That's elder financial abuse, even posthumously, and you did it systematically over 2 years. That's conspiracy. My father lunged forward but stopped himself. His hands were shaking. Owen, please, we can fix this. We'll pay it back. Every penny, with interest. Just don't what? Don't report it. I tilted my head. Report it? To the authorities, to the bank, to anyone. We'll make this right. We'll refinance the house, sell the boat, whatever it takes. With what money, Dad? The business is hemorrhaging because of the IRS audit. Your credit is shot because of the fines. You just told me you can't cover the wedding bills. How exactly will you pay back $127,000? He didn't have an answer. My mother dropped to her knees. Actually dropped to her knees on my living room floor. Owen, please, we're your family. We made mistakes, but sending us to prison won't fix anything. I'm not sending you anywhere, I said quietly. The law is— What? I walked back to my desk, pulled out another folder, this one marked with a case number. I filed a report with the Oregon State Attorney General's office 3 months ago, October 14, 2024 at 9:17 a.m. Case number 2024 FA 08847, Financial Abuse Division. The lead investigator is Deputy Attorney General Patricia Lyons, 26 years experience in financial crimes prosecution. My father's knees buckled. He sat down hard on my couch. I submitted all the forensic accounting reports, all the bank statements, all the forged authorization forms. Dr. Wallace provided expert testimony in a deposition on December 3rd. The AG's office opened a formal investigation on December 5th. I opened the folder. They subpoenaed all records from Pacific Trust and Savings, the bank managing the trust. They interviewed the bank manager, the trust officer, and 3 tellers who processed withdrawals. They verified that the signatures didn't match. They traced where the money went. My mother was crying now, mascara running down her face in black rivers. You did this before the wedding. You knew and you didn't say anything? I filed the final documentation on Friday morning, I said, the day before Marcus's wedding, because I knew something like this was coming. I knew you'd eventually need more money. I knew you'd show up here demanding I authorize a withdrawal. I pulled out the last document in the folder, held it up so they could see the official seal. Arrest warrants were approved yesterday afternoon at 4:32 p.m. while you were at the wedding reception. While you were celebrating and laughing at me being turned away at the door, Judge Howard Keating signed them. He's the senior judge in Moulton County, 34 years on the bench. I set the document on the coffee table. The warrants are for multiple counts of forgery, fraud, and elder financial abuse. Deputy AG Lyons is coordinating with the Portland Police Bureau's Financial Crimes Unit. Detective James Rothstein, 15 years investigating white-collar crime, is handling the arrests. Arrests? Marcus's voice cracked. His drunken fog was clearing fast. What the fuck are you talking about? Your parents are going to be arrested. Monday morning, 8 a.m. That's tomorrow. Detective Rothstein will execute the warrants at your parents' home. The room erupted. My mother screaming. My father shouting about betrayal. Marcus lunging at me. I sidestepped and he crashed into my bookshelf, sending books flying. You ruined my wedding day! Marcus screamed, scrambling to his feet. You selfish fucking asshole! I didn't ruin anything, I said calmly. I wasn't even there, remember? I was the dramatic one who got turned away at the door while everyone laughed. This is about revenge, my father roared. You're doing this to punish us. No, I'm doing this because you committed crimes, because you stole from your own mother's estate, because you forged my signature 23 times, because you lied repeatedly, systematically for 2 years. I stepped closer to him. And because when you ran out of money, when your schemes finally caught up to you, you came to me, the son you publicly humiliated yesterday, and asked me to help you access more money to steal. We weren't going to steal it, my mother sobbed. We needed it for emergencies. Wedding bills aren't emergencies. They're consequences of your choices, of living beyond your means, of spending money you didn't have to maintain an image you can't afford. I walked to the door and opened it. Now get out of my apartment. Owen, please, my mother started. Get out. They left slowly, stumbling over each other. My mother could barely walk in her heels. My father had to support her. Marcus followed behind, muttering threats I didn't bother listening to. I watched them get into their car, a leased Mercedes they couldn't afford, paid for with trust money, and drive away. Then I closed the door, locked it, put the chain on. My phone started ringing immediately. I ignored it. I walked to my kitchen, poured another cup of coffee, sat down at my grandmother's old desk, the one piece of furniture she'd left me directly outside the trust. A beautiful oak roll-top desk that had been in her study for 40 years. There was a note taped inside the top drawer. I'd found it the day after her funeral, when I'd brought the desk home from her house. I'd read it at least 100 times since then. Owen, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I hope I made things clear in my will, but just in case, you're the only one I trust with the family emergency fund. Your father is good at making money, but terrible at keeping it. Your mother enables him. Marcus follows their lead. You're different. You tell the truth, even when it hurts. You do what's right, even when it costs you. That's rare. Don't lose that. The trust is substantial. Protect it. Use it only for real emergencies, not manufactured ones. And if they try to steal from it, and they will try, don't let them. Not because you're mean, but because sometimes the most loving thing you can do is stop people from destroying themselves. I love you, kiddo. Be strong. Grandma. I folded the note carefully and put it back in the drawer. My phone buzzed. A text from Deputy AG Patricia Lyons. Warrants executing Monday 8 a.m. as planned. Officers briefed. Expect arrest without incident. We'll keep you updated. I replied, thank you. Another text, this one from Dr. Rebecca Wallace, the forensic accountant. Saw the warrant approval came through. Congratulations. Justice doesn't happen often enough in these cases. Your grandmother would be proud. Would she? I wasn't sure. Part of me felt sick. These were my parents, my brother, my family. But another part, the part that remembered my grandmother's hospital room, the part that had watched my father commit fraud and tax evasion for years, the part that had been publicly humiliated yesterday for having a conscience, that part felt only a cold satisfaction. They'd had every opportunity to stop, every chance to make it right. Instead, they doubled down, excluded me from family events, called me dramatic, disloyal, a traitor, and then come crawling back the moment they needed something. Sunday passed slowly. I didn't leave my apartment, ignored calls from my mother, my father, Marcus, various aunts and uncles who'd somehow heard what was happening and wanted me to be reasonable and think about the family. At 7:54 p.m., my cousin Rachel texted, "My mom says your parents are about to be arrested. Is that true?" I responded, "Yes." Holy shit. What did they do? Stole from grandma's trust, forged my signature. Elder financial abuse. Jesus Christ. Are you okay? Was I okay? I didn't know how to answer that. I'm fine. Do you need anything? No, thank you. At 11:37 p.m., my father called. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. "Owen, it's Dad. I know you're angry. I know we handled things badly, but please, please don't let this happen. We're your family. We made mistakes, but prison, real prison? Your mother can't survive that. I can't survive that. Just call the AG's office. Tell them you made a mistake. Tell them you misunderstood the withdrawals. Please, I'm begging you." I deleted the voicemail. At 8:17 a.m. Monday morning, my phone rang. Deputy AG Lyons. "Mr. Garrett, the arrests were executed successfully. Your parents are in custody. They're being processed at the Multnomah County Detention Center. Arraignment is scheduled for tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., courtroom 4B. You're not required to attend. Thank you for letting me know. I want you to know, this case is solid. Dr. Wallace's forensic accounting is textbook perfect. The forged signatures are obvious. The bank records are damning. Your parents will be advised to take a plea deal. What kind of sentence are we looking at? With restitution and no prior criminal record? Probably 2 to 4 years with possibility of parole after 18 months, but they'll have to pay back the full $127,000 plus penalties and interest. And they'll have criminal records. Any professional licenses will be reviewed. Your father's business will likely fold. I understand. Mr. Garrett, I've been doing this for 26 years. I've seen a lot of family financial abuse cases. Most of the time, the victims feel guilty. They want to protect the abuser because they're family. But you need to know, you did the right thing. You protected your grandmother's legacy. You stopped them from stealing more, and you held them accountable. It doesn't feel good. It's not supposed to, she said gently, but it's still right. After we hung up, I sat at my grandmother's desk for a long time. My phone buzzed with texts. My Aunt Susan, "I can't believe you did this to your own parents. Shame on you." My Uncle Tom, "Family is supposed to stick together. You're dead to us." Marcus, "I hope you're fucking happy. You destroyed our family. I blocked all of them." Then my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. I answered. "Mr. Garrett, this is Bethany Winters from the Oregon Bar Association. I'm calling regarding your grandmother's estate trust. We've been contacted by the AG's office about the case. I wanted to let you know that the trust will be placed under court supervision during the criminal proceedings, but you'll remain as executor. The remaining funds, $213,000, will be secured and protected. Thank you. I also wanted to say, off the record, good for you. Elder financial abuse is difficult to prosecute because family members often don't want to cooperate. separate. You did a hard thing. The right thing. Was it the right thing? Everyone kept saying that, but it felt like I'd just blown up what remained of my family. But maybe, I thought, some families needed to blow up. Some families were built on lies and fraud, and the expectation that loyalty meant accepting criminal behavior. Some families destroyed themselves from the inside, and all you could do was refuse to be buried in the rubble with them. 3 months later, my parents took a plea deal. 2 years in minimum security prison, $127,000 in restitution, 3 years probation after release, and they both had to surrender their business licenses. My father's consulting firm was dissolved. My mother lost her real estate license. Marcus stopped speaking to me entirely, blocked me on everything. His wife, a woman I'd never even met, posted on social media about toxic family members who value money over relationships. The irony was apparently lost on her.